Time now to take a look through the international press, and joining me in the studio is Florence Vimino. Hello, Florence. Now, starting off with coverage of the, how the papers are covering the death of Meles Zenawi in Ethiopia, the Prime Minister.
That's right. We're going to start by looking at a paper coming from Burkina Faso called L'Observateur Palga, and it says that the United States has lost a precious ally. Now, it says that Meles Zenawi was a master of the carrot and the stick method, and in fact, he has acted like the master of Ethiopia in general. And it points out that he managed to woo Western businessmen and carried out important economic reform that led to two-digit growth rates in Ethiopia. So he was also an important ally for the U.S. in the Horn of Africa, where, according to this article, tribal militias and jihadists run wild. And it says that with his death, the guarantee of security and a precious partner in the region is gone, and he's left somewhat of a vacuum in his wake. And there's also an interesting analysis piece in The Guardian by David Smith about his death, and it says that he was a Western darling that was tough on his own people. And it points out that back in 1998, Bill Clinton said that Meles was part of a new generation of African leaders with whom the West could do business. And it also points out that he was in power during a boom which has driven a kind of narrative of an African renaissance. And also, on top of that, it points out what I was saying about the fact that he set himself up as somewhat of a bulwark against Islamist militancy. And because of this, according to David Smith, the West pretty much shut its eyes on evidence of democracy and human rights being trampled in the name of progress. And there's an interesting cartoon, this time coming from the Kenyan newspaper, The Daily Nation, which points out this issue. You see a drawing there of Meles Zenawi in his grave, and in his right hand there, he's violently crushing the life out of the press and the opposition.
All right, now papers across the world are continuing to react to controversial comments on rape, both in the US and in the UK.
That's right. We're going to start by looking at a piece in the Daily Telegraph by a Conservative MP named Louise Mensch, and she says that George Galloway, Todd Akin, and other male politicians are still getting it wrong on rape. She says that rape is having a moment and not in the good way. And so she says that on both sides of the Atlantic, male politicians are minimizing this serious crime. So just as a reminder, in the UK, there was the MP, George Galloway, who claimed that the accusations of sexual assault against Julian Assange were not rape, but part of the sex game, as he called it. In the US, the Republican candidate in Missouri for the Senate race, Congressman Todd Akin, explained why he was against abortion in the case of rape, because he said that if, quote, it was a legitimate rape, the female body had a way to shut the whole thing down. And on top of that, yesterday, Mike Huckabee, a former Republican president candidate, said extraordinary things have been done by those born from forcible rape. So all this has caused quite a lot of uproar. And according to Louise Mensch, this is just the tip of the iceberg. She says that all too often the media pretends that feminism's work is done, but there's a long way to go, according to her.
Now, Mitt Romney has joined calls for Todd Akin to step down, or rather to withdraw from a race for the Senate. And the papers are looking at what his comments mean for the party as a whole. Because, of course, if the presidential candidate himself is calling for him to withdraw, then
it's very serious, yes, indeed. And there's an interesting piece in the Wall Street Journal, which is quite conservative, which looks at just what this means for the Republican Party and what it could mean if he continues in that race. It's called Akin's sinking ship. So, as you were saying, he's drawn a lot of criticism from within the Republican Party for what they call one of the most offensive and ill-informed comments in recent years. Now, so far, he has refused to step out of this race, and the Wall Street Journal points out that if he doesn't, Akin could cost his party a seat in November for the Senate, and thus possible control of the Senate in that race. Now, and on that hangs the future of Obamacare, and the Wall Street Journal is known for being very against Obamacare. So it seems as if the Wall Street Journal is suggesting that Akin should take one for the team and step out of the race.
A very quick look at Iran, young people using social networking there for good.
That's right. I'll just a quick little piece in the International Herald Tribune that I recommend you reading. It's a different piece coming out of Iran, this time on how young people are using social networks, working and Facebook, etc., to help relief efforts in the north after an earthquake there.
All right. Thank you very much, Florence, for taking us through the international papers. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned.